So, I have a question to everyone sitting out there in the audience, even the teachers. Think back to your high school days. How many of you out there have ever been super excited to present an oral presentation? Like, this is the highlight of your week. You've been waiting all week to do this. It's the best thing happening. For the few of you that have raised your hands, you guys are the freaks of nature, clearly. But clearly, we can see that the majority does not like oral presentations. So, as a fellow high school student, I believe that we'd be better off without oral presentations. All they do is cause stress, cause us to learn less, and they have so many equally efficient replacement options. For starters, have you noticed that when there's an oral presentation going on in class, hardly anyone ever volunteers to go? If they do, it's just because they want to get it over with because they hate it so much, or they've been bribed. I've seen it happen. I personally have felt the insane stress that comes along with oral presentations. The shaky voice, the sweaty palms, all of that. But a notable example of this was back when I was a little Sec 2, so long ago. And I just so happened to be picked on the first day of school to read out my personal unedited writing, a quick write, if you will. And so I got up and just froze. And so my question is, how can something that causes such an adverse reaction in myself, and I believe many others, be considered necessary in the high school curriculum? Did you guys know that generally the #1 fear is public speaking, followed only later by death? To put that in perspective, that means that at a funeral, most people would rather be the one in the casket than the one giving the eulogy. I just think there's something a little bit messed up about that. Second of all, when preparing and presenting an oral presentation, we tend to cram, present, and forget. What we do is we spend all our time memorizing and rehearsing our subject matter, and then we get up there, we present it, and we sit back down, and it's all gone. We do this because we don't technically need the information anymore. To prove my point, I want all of you to think back to something you had to memorize, maybe a slam poem back in Sec 2 or something of the like. And I have to ask, do any of you have it memorized down to the last line? I don't think so. Now, I'm sure all of you have experienced this dreadful phenomenon at least once in your life, blanking. Imagine yourself up in front of everyone, and you're all prepared, you've been preparing for weeks, and then suddenly everything's gone. Blanking is a vicious cycle. It's caused by stress, but then when you realize you're blanking, you get more stress, which leads to more blanking, and then eventually you're just standing in front of the class, and you remember absolutely nothing. Stress has actually been proved to release a hormone called cortisol in our brains, and this hormone has been found to be linked to a decrease in the ability to retrieve memories and make emotional connections. So, when we're preparing or presenting an oral presentation, we're only hurting ourselves and our learning capabilities. If someone were to research a topic for pleasure rather than for an oral presentation, they'd be far more likely to remember that subject matter because they're not stressed. Third of all, oral presentations have a surprising amount of equally efficient replacement options. A first option would be reading aloud, such as from a book or a journal article. While this doesn't work on the students' creativity, it does work on their vocabulary, fluency in the language, and speaking abilities. A second option to replace oral presentations would be group discussions. They're very similar to traditional oral presentations in the sense that you have to use your own ideas and opinions, but they're far more useful in real life. Think about it. How many times are you going to be up in front of everyone talking by yourself? Sure, it's happening now, but I have a feeling that most of you will be talking in groups more than you'll be talking by yourself. So, group discussions are far more useful in real life, and they can also help socially anxious students learn how to communicate in a group. As it's been said for eons, there's safety in numbers, and I don't think that's a saying without a reason. A third option to replace oral presentations is drama skits. It sounds a little out there, I know, but I've learned from personal experience that drama skits cause far less stress than traditional oral presentations. You can improvise, and humor can be thrown into the mix, which I find helps a lot, and you can also take cues from others. And besides, who doesn't love a chance to become their favorite book, movie, or TV show character for a few minutes? All in all, I believe that the education experience will be far more pleasurable in the absence of oral presentations. All they do is cause stress, cause us to learn less, and they have so many different replacement options. And so, I ask you, my fellow high school students, how do we begin our rebellion?